Instagram always loves to take forever. But what is up, everyone? Happy snow-filled snow day in Milwaukee. Anyways, we had some championships handed out this weekend. Two, to be exact. I don't know if there was more. I didn't pay attention to the D2, D3 national championship games, even though I should have probably. But anyways, got wild card weekend coming up this weekend. Super wild card weekend, anyways. And yeah, let's get to it. So, FCS National Championship, Jackrabbits, go Jacks, baby, back to back. Number 1 South Dakota State 23-3 over number 2 Montana. This team was completely dominant all year long. There was only, I think, 2 games that were within a score. But yeah, I mean, they tied Georgia's winning streak that just ended with the SEC championship game. So the Jackrabbits are at 29 straight wins right now, back-to-back national champions, and they're going to lose a lot next year in the draft and graduations, but I don't know. We'll see. See if the Jacks can keep it rolling into 2024 season, go for 3 straight, which hasn't been accomplished since North Dakota State 2017 through 2019, I think, was the three-peat that North Dakota State had. So, yeah, those Dakotas, they get you.
Yeah, when we were making the picks for this game, I think I saw like South Dakota State getting like double digits, like as favorites. And I was like, what the heck? Yeah. Like, this is the chip. And sure enough, yeah.
And yet it was not a unanimous selection. James O'Malley.
Yeah. I had to be bold.
With the Grizz.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
But yeah, Mark Gronowski didn't have to do a lot. It was 7-3 at halftime. There wasn't really a lot of scoring. It looked like South Dakota State was gonna blow them out because they went right down the field on their first drive, 75 yards. I think it was like 8 or 9 plays, and went and scored touchdown, 7-zip. Montana came back, kicked a field goal to make it a 4-point game, and that's what it was at the break. And then, like I said, South Dakota State took control from there, 16 unanswered to end the game. But yeah, Gronowski there, 13-21, 61.9%, 175, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 8 carries, 53 yards, and a rushing score. For Montana, it was Clifton McDowell, 22 of 39, 56.4%, 165, 1 pick, 1 fumble. They also played their freshman quarterback just to get him some experience. Kayali, I don't even know how to say that one. That's a hard one. Kayali Ayat. I guess that's how. I don't know. It's the Hawaiian names, man. They're so difficult. Usually I can get them, but it's the I' is the toughest thing. 6 of 7 though, 85.7%, 47 yards for the freshman there. Isaiah Davis, running back for SD State, 16 carries, 87 yards, touchdown, 3-yard reception as well. Montana wide receiver Aaron Fontes, he led the game in receiving, 7 for 76 and a fumble. Jaden Yankee, the Yankee brothers were fantastic, 9 receptions, 121 total yards and a touchdown combined for the two boys there. And then the defensive players here, interceptions by South Dakota State's corner Dallas Beanham and Montana's corner Corbin Walker, and then fumble recoveries for the Jacks by corner Dyshawn Gales and defense tackle Ryan Van Merrill. Beanham, dude, I'm hyped for him in the draft. He is a sleeper. Got to look out for him. Vikings might need a corner, huh, Jimmy?
They need one or two.
Well, there you go. Make sure you keep an eye out on Dallas beating them. Yeah, South Dakota State covered minus 14.5, under 48.5. Last night, CFP National Championship presented by AT&T. Number 1 Michigan, 34-13 over number 2 Washington. And it pays to cheat, huh? It's a great lesson. Great lesson for all the children out there. If you cheat, you will win in life. There you go. That is the story of Michigan football.
Yeah.
There's not much to say. I mean, the thing is, too, Michigan looked awful for about 3.5 quarters. Like, they had 2 really good runs where Washington just forgot how to play run defense and then just disappeared for 2.5 quarters and then just, like, ended the game. I was like, oh, all right. It was very boring, honestly.
It was the same thing that happened in the Rose Bowl. I said that while we were watching the game. I was like, the same exact thing happened. Michigan came out hot. They slowed down. Washington made the defensive adjustments they needed to in the second and third quarters. And then middle of fourth quarter, they turned it on again. So, great 3.5 quarter game, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the last, the final box score didn't really tell the whole story. It was a pretty entertaining game, even though Michigan led pretty much the entire time. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. Michigan was a really good team this year. It's going to be interesting because I think you said this last night, Rusty, is that the NCAA still has investigation going on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I've seen some speculation around there. We've talked about it in sports law and stuff, but you can technically vacate wins if the sanction is and the violation is egregious enough. So that's going to be something that's interesting, maybe coming down the pipe. Now, will the NCAA go that way? I doubt it.
They did it with Louisville back in the day with their basketball program. Was it 2014 when they won a natty and they took it away?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I commented on someone's Twitter post about that, and I said, "Yeah, it's going to be funny when they vacate the championship and all the wins." But yeah, it definitely should be something because it was blatantly cheating. I mean, and I think our friend last night that was sitting with us is like, everyone does it. I was like, yeah, but not everyone gets caught, and even and not everyone. There's no way that there are that many teams, if any others, that did it to the extent that Michigan did it. So that's my issue, and that's why I think it's also partially me hating Michigan. But again, like I said last night, though, even if it was Ohio State and they won it without the cheating stuff, right? I would still hate that they won, but I wouldn't have as big of an uproar. I wouldn't make as big of an uproar about it because they would have won it legitimately and not, winning the way that Michigan has won the last 2 years with having the intel that other teams did not on the teams that they were playing.
Yeah. I always hate the, everyone else cheated excuse. It's like, okay, then that just means everyone else is in trouble. That doesn't mean you're not. Like, it's like going to an exam and like getting caught cheating and being like, oh, everyone else cheated. It's like, okay, then all you guys are screwed. Like, we can go that route. Like, if everyone cheated, everyone's in trouble. You're not going to get away with this. Like, what's the point of saying everyone else is cheating? You're just digging yourself a deeper hole.
It only matters for the people to get caught.
Yeah.
And Michigan got caught. So yeah, I'm still up there for the vacation of the wins and the championship, the Big Ten titles as well. Because really it's all 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. Because even though 23, they didn't have Connor Stallions on, they fired him midway through the season. They were still using him early in the year, right? So, and I am sure that they still had intel on teams that they played even after they fired him. I'm sure they still had information on teams that they played. So yeah. But yeah, I kind of just LMAO'd when I saw the quote about Jim Harbaugh saying they were innocent after the championship, or maybe that was JJ McCarthy, whatever. I was like, yeah, okay.
Didn't JJ McCarthy also come out and say everyone else does this too?
Yeah.
Again, this guy is not an NFL quarterback because an NFL quarterback would not be that dumb. NFL quarterbacks are supposed to be smart. This guy is not an NFL quarterback. This guy's too dumb to be an NFL quarterback.
Until he gets
Jimmy, I wouldn't be speaking on future Minnesota
by the
Vikings.
I swear, if he gets drafted to the Vikings, I'm moving my fandom. I'm moving out. This guy is Christian Ponder without the arm strength. Don't get me started. If we do a mock draft on this show and I see JJ McCarthy on the Vikings for any of your guys' mock draft, I am driving to where you live and punching you guys in the face. I do not want that moron, like, just carried asshole on my team.
Yeah, we are gonna do mock drafts. We're gonna do I don't know when, probably after the Super Bowl. We're gonna start mock draft Mondays, pre-recorded shows.
I like that.
If we'll have to see who's available for that. But anyways, into the game, into the stats here. Michael Penix, 27 of 51, 52.9%, 255, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And I don't know what was wrong with him. I know he got rolled up. He got stepped on early by his lineman. But I think even before that, he had missed some throws. And it just, like you kept saying it, Logan, last night, like, it's just not there. Like, it wasn't him for some reason.
Yeah. I saw a tweet. I think it was Deontay Lee tweeted it out, where Michigan just did a really good job of making those what were 70-30 balls for Washington the whole season, making them actual like 50-50 balls, and probably even 30-70. And I think it came down to, and I'd have to go back to look at it, but it felt like Michigan was doing some really creative things up front to create pressure and to at least get Penix off his spot, so that he couldn't, really get into his throws a whole lot. This Washington O-line, I think they won the Thorpe, or the
Moore Award, yeah.
Yeah. They've been great all season, but they looked rough. Yesterday. So, yeah, I think it started there, and it really just kind of disrupted the whole flow of that offense.
Yeah. 73 is on my list. horrendous offensive line play. Whenever
you were on his ass last night at the watch.
Whenever you show a tape of bad offensive, when you want to make an example of bad offensive line play, just turn on number 73 on Washington last night, because He made one good play. He had a great block on a screen, and that was it. Otherwise, I think he had 3 false starts. He missed multiple blocks. And the holding call that he got on a big play, he had to hold because he didn't even get off on the snap. So, yeah, 73 for Washington. The right tackle, absolutely horrendous performance by him. Again, it's crazy. The awarded as the best offensive line in the country, and they couldn't protect Penix all night. For McCarthy, 10 of 18, 55.6%, 140, 4 carries for 31 yards. I was so thankful that they didn't do the stupid thing and award the quarterback of the winning team the MVP. It's good to see something truthful actually happen to Michigan. For once. Because Blake Corum was the MVP. 21 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Donovan Edwards also over 100. The man had 2 carries for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. And then his first carry in the second half took it for quite a distance. And he had 3 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns at one point. He was averaging 31 yards per carry. I ended up 17.3 yards per carry, 6 carries for 104 yards, 2 touchdowns for Edwards. And that's kind of why I like him over Corum. Talking about draft, I know Corum is more of, the leader kind of guy, but talent-wise, Edwards is much more explosive than Blake Corum is. And has a lot less tread. Washington wide receiver Roma Dunze led the game in receiving, 5 for 87. And defensively, there really wasn't a lot of big-time stat lines on defense. I'm going to go with Michigan defensive lineman Kenneth Grant. 2 tackles, both of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss, pass deflection. Michigan minus 4.5 covered under a 55.5. NFL Week 18. Here we go. Steelers to the playoffs, baby. 17-10 over the Ravens. Mason Rudolph 18 of 20. Man was 90% in the game. 152 yards, touchdown, fumble. Ravens starting Tyler Huntley at quarterback, 15 of 28, 53.6%, 146, 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 40 yards. This game was so gross. It was wet, rainy, slippery, all kinds of stuff in Baltimore. It was pretty nasty, but it was fitting for Steelers Ravens. And Mike Tomlin has gotten the best of John Harbaugh most of the time. The Steelers have a good record against the Ravens under Tomlin. And they swept them this year. Steelers were 5-1 in division, by the way, this year. Excellent. They swept the Bengals, they swept the Ravens, and they split with the Browns. So half their wins in division. That's what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Try to win your division first, and then more stuff.
Yep. And if it's one thing Mike Tomlin's going to do, he's going to get that playoff berth. He's going to get one of them.
He's going to get that playoff berth, or he's just going to miss it every year.
Steelers, they still have the ground game is still going. Najee Harris has been excellent during this 3-game winning streak. 26 carries, 112 yards, touchdown, 5 receptions for 21 yards on 5 targets. Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson led the game in receiving, 4 for 89 and touchdown on 5 targets. That was the big play that sealed the game pretty much. Got him up 14-7 after it was kind of a punt fest for a little bit of time there. But one thing was interesting in this game, no George Pickens. No targets at all. He had 1 4-yard carry, and that was it. That he had to fight his ass off to get a first down on, but he got it. And then defensively, bro, TJ Watt. I mean, DPOY, lock it up. 8 tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Ends the season leading in sacks, 19 on the year. He's led the league in sacks 3 times now in the last 4 years. And the only one he didn't was when he missed 7 games with his torn pec. So, yeah, I think he's pretty good. A little bit.
Yeah,
I think he's better.
It's kind of crazy they ruled him out for Buffalo.
He's better than JJ. There you go. Steelers minus 3.5 covered, under 34.5. And I was really hoping, I was listening to this game. I was hoping the Steelers could have locked it up on Saturday night with a tie. It was going well. It was 14-14. It was 17-17. And I was like, bro, here we go. We're in. 17-17. Just keep it there. No more scoring needed. We'll be okay. Yeah, and Texans said nah. CJ Stroud, 20 of 26, 76.9%, 264, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries for 20 yards. Gardner Minshew, 13 of 24, 54.2%, 141. And Minshew Mania is officially over for the 2023-24 season. Jonathan Taylor, though, dude, I mean, the Colts didn't lose because of him, though. This man put in work. 30 carries, 188 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 8 yards. That's hefty. That's a hefty workload. You need the stretch bag to fit all those touches in. So yeah,
I'm so excited to see a fully healthy Colts backfield next year with Richardson and Stroud. With Steichen dialing up some stuff, I think it could be nasty.
Yeah. AFC South next year could be even better than the race this year that we had. With 3 quarterbacks going into year 2 and T-Law in year 4. Nico Collins also monster performance. 9 catches, 195 yards, touchdown, 9 targets. Caught the first Texans play of the game for a 75-yard touchdown. NBD. It's fine. And then defensively, I'm going with Colts defense tackle DeForest Buckner. 6 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Texans into the playoffs. Cover minus 1.5, under 47.5. Sunday, the Bucks 9-0 over the Panthers. Panthers
one hope for the Saints division.
Panthers end the season 2 straight shutouts. Dude, the Panthers should have won this game. I'm just gonna say it. They had 2 touchdowns, 1 called back on penalty, and 1 DJ Chark is just being a dumbass. I mean, bro, like, if you don't know you're gonna get there, have 2 hands on the freaking ball. God,
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah. I feel so bad for Young, for Panthers fans, for whoever their head coach is going to be next year. They're in a tough spot. They really are. There are some big holes on that roster, and they don't really have a whole lot of capital to work with. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough sell.
Well, I think defensive wise, they're perfectly fine. Defensively, like, they're still they were top 5, I believe. In I don't know if in total defense. I know they were top 5 in passing defense for sure. But yeah, I mean, they have to pour every cent that they have and every draft pick onto the offensive side of the ball just to throw as many darts and hope you get some bullseyes. And that's why, actually, defensively, though, I, as much as I love Brian Burns and as much as he's a centerpiece, if they can still get the type of offer that the Rams were giving them, 2 firsts, they have to take that at this point.
But the thing is, too, if you're looking at the Panthers, I think I just looked it up. They'll have $39 million in cap space this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see who's coming on the market. You could go for T. Higgins. That can make a lot of sense. Michael Pittman Jr. I don't know if they'd go for someone like Mike Evans, but I think those 2 guys, I would, if I'm Panthers front office, I'm giving them the money they want, because I mean, you just need more dynamic weapons on this offense. I mean, giving up DJ Moore to get Bryce Young and then leaving Bryce Young basically on an island with nothing in terms of people to throw to. I mean, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. I mean, this is just not good enough. Like, this is really bad.
Well, it didn't help some of the injuries. Like Hayden Hurst got hurt. He was supposed to be their big target in the middle of the field. And then, I mean, Adam Thielen produced 100-catch season. I don't know what his yards were at, but Adam Thielen was definitely worth the free agent signing that they got him at.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the progression of Jonathan Mingo. I think Bryce Young and Jonathan Mingo have a good connection. Obviously, he's not a true number 1, but I think eventually he could be a really solid 2. And that's the thing with a guy like T. Higgins, though. He's never been a 1. He's always been a 2. To Chase. So that's the big question mark about him, is can he be a 1? Even though he was against the Vikings. When Chase went down, he made that catch for that touchdown. But yeah, I think the Panthers will be all right. They definitely, whoever is the new head coach, more than likely going to be an offensive guy. And definitely keeping Ejiro Evero at DC. I wouldn't even mind hiring Ejiro Evero as the head coach and then getting an offensive coordinator. I don't know. Whatever.
Did he serve as the interim? Who served as the interim for them?
Chris Tabor, the special teams coordinator. Yeah. But yeah, this game was not great statistically. Baker Mayfield was banged up a lot, and that's why, I thought they really had a chance, the Panthers, because they were doing pretty well on defense, and then offense just couldn't get it. Baker Mayfield, 20 of 32, 62.5%, 137. Bryce Young, 11 of 18, 61.1%, 94 yards, 2 carries, 24 yards, and a fumble. And I just don't know what happened. 3 weeks ago, he puts a monster performance in against the Packers that they almost win. And then the last 2 weeks, they don't let him throw the ball. It didn't really make sense to me.
I tell you what happened, brother. Joseph Barry.
Yeah, but the Bucs defense is not very good pass defense wise either. In terms of total yards, total passing yards. So
yeah. But I mean, Bowles is a much more aggressive defensive play caller, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, in both of the games against Carolina, they blitzed the hell out of Bryce Young. So, Chuba, though, I'm very excited for Chuba next year. Unfortunately, Jimmy, part of that $39 million is going to have to be spent on Miles Sanders dead cat money because that's looking like what it's going to have to be because Chuba Hubbard took the reins at the RB1 spot, and he didn't let it go the whole season because he was excellent this year. 23 carries, 83 yards, 2 catches for 9 yards. Chris Godwin led the game in receiving, 6 for 51 on 7 targets. And defensively, great performance by Panthers defensive tackle Derek Brown. 7 tackles, 6 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, 2 pass selections, 2 QB hits. And, of course, the overall player of the game, Chase McLaughlin for the Bucs, 3 for 3 field goals, 57 long. I thought that was going to be the one that he missed, and then the Panthers would have still had a chance. But all for naught. Bucs cover -5.5, under 36.5. Easily. No playoff implications on this game. Browns were locked into the 5 seed already. So Bengals 31-14 over the Browns. And did Jimmy lone wolf this one?
I did. I think I picked them.
Or no, I lone wolfed this one.
Oh.
I lone wolfed to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Me and Logan were just caught up in Driscoll mania, man.
Yeah, by the way, well, you and Logan started the weekend out 1-2 combined on lone wolf because Jimmy, you lone wolfed the Ravens.
Listen, I thought they would be
I said on Friday that was just to spurn me.
I thought they would try to play spoiler against a division rival. I knew they had number 1 seed locked up. I thought they'd be like, oh, we want to keep the Steelers out,
and
just
then
because they're a rival, but nah, they played it safe.
And then also on Saturday, Logan lost to Lone Wolf on the Colts. But then, yeah, so to start Sunday, though, Jimmy, you got the Bucs Lone Wolf right. I got the Bengals Lone Wolf right. Anyways, yeah, there wasn't much. This was a lot closer score than it really was. Jeff Driscoll got a couple touchdowns late. But, yeah, and I knew the Bengals weren't going to lose to freaking Jeff Driscoll. Bro. Yeah, they dominated this game. Jake Browning was pretty good. And Joe Mixon was probably even better there with almost 8 yards per carry. Driscoll for the Browns, though, 13 of 26, 50%, 166, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 7 carries for 33 yards. For the Bengals, quarterbacks Jake Browning, 18 of 24, 75%, 156, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 2 carries for 18 yards. A.J. McCarron also got in late in the game, 3 of 4, 75%, 20 yards. Mixon, like I mentioned, over 100, 14 carries, 111 yards, touchdown, and a 6-yard receiving touchdown as well. Browns wide receiver David Bell, not Davis Bell, David Bell, 4 catches, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns on 4 targets. Bengals rookie wide receiver Andre Yosivas also with a 2-touchdown day, 5 for 36, 2 scores, and 7 targets. A lot of great defensive plays in this one. I'm going to go with Bengals safety Jordan Battle, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, a QB hit, and a pick. Bengals -7.5 covered, over 37.5.
Woo!
Great way to end the season for Jimmy's Vikings.
Woo! Draft pick, baby. Woo!
30-20 for the Lions, locking up the number 2 seed, or the 3 seed. I mean, Nick Mullins, 30 of 44, 68.2%, 396, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's been Mullins' go-to the last couple games he's played. Right around 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got to even it out. He can't be plus on touchdowns.
Well, he'll even it out on the bench next year. 0-0.
Jared Goff was excellent. 23 of 32, 71.9%, 322 touchdowns. Ty Chandler led the game in rushing for the Vikings. 12 carries, 69 yards, 2 catches for 20 yards. And then Just Jefferson went off in the finale. 12 catches, 192, 1 touchdown, 14 targets. It's crazy. I saw the one tweet Justin Jefferson had a 1,000-yard season, and he missed 5 games and parts of 2 others, something like that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Generational. There's no doubt about it.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, also pretty good game himself. 7 catches, 144 yards, touchdown on 10 targets. And then the guy that I picked for Defensive Player of the Year this year, Aiden Hutchinson, had himself his last 2 games. I think he has 5 sacks his last 2 games combined. 4 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 5 QB hits. This guy is a monster. Lions minus 3.5 covered, over 47.5. You guys can take this one, right? While I run away real quick.
Woo!
Yeesh.
Take it.
All right. Well, I obviously picked the Jets because I am not dumb. Jets 17, Patriots 3. I think this gives. Is the Patriots now have the second or is it third pick? It's either them or
the third
pick. Isn't it Cardinals at 2? Cardinals are at 2. Okay.
Cardinals are at 4 and Washington's at 2.
Washington's at 2. And that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It was not a red team. Anyway, with this game, it was just a beautiful display of high school level talent football. Bailey Zappi for the New England Patriots. It seems that the Mac Jones era is just done. It's dead. It's not a thing anymore. I think they're moving on. Well, he went 12 for 30, only 40%, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 20.1, 3 carries or 13 yards. And his mirror opposite on the not actually mirror opposite, mirror exact same on the other side for the Jets, Trevor Siemian, Viking legend, 8 for 20, 40%, 70 yards, and a 50 rating. Yeah, this game it was the ground game that won it for the Jets because Breece Hall absolutely carried this team, and I mean carried because he had 37 of those for 178 yards and a touchdown, along with 2 receptions for 12 yards. And the leading receiver, my goodness, it was really hard to find a leading receiver, was Garrett Wilson of the Jets, 2 receptions, 34 yards on 5 targets. I mean, what's more to say? This is the best offensive showdown I've seen all season. And but I mean, you got to pick a defensive player of the game. And looking here, you got some options, man. But here, I got to go with defensive tackle Quinnen Williams of the New York Jets. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 fumbles for loss, and 2 QB hits. What a way to end the season for what was once the pillar of excellence in football. Now just the pillar of shit. New England Patriots, 4-13. What a way to end. Probably Bill Belichick's Patriots legacy is to lose the team that he quit after like a day by writing his resignation on a napkin. I mean, it poetic, I would say. Very poetic.
That was masterfully done, Jimmy.
Thank
well
you.
done. I mean, love to see a Jalen Reagor sighting on the stat sheet. Yeah. But I mean, for the Patriots, good on them not getting a meaningless, brutal win down the stretch. And it's going to be really interesting because for me, they're the most interesting quarterback question mark because, as you mentioned, pretty sure the Mac Jones era is over. Mm-hmm. And I think, we always talk about like, okay, when does the draft actually start? And I think it's going to start at number 3 there with the Patriots because I do think Chicago will eventually bite the bullet and take a QB at 1. And I think the Commanders will take 1 at 2. Either way, it's going to be May and Williams at 1 and 2. The question is that do the Patriots take a QB at 3? Which feels a little rich at this moment in time, or do they take Marvin Harrison Jr. at that spot and maybe try to get a free agent or trade for somebody? So, yeah, interesting times in New England, man.
I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum on that. I really do think the Bears are sticking with Fields, and the Patriots to me scream the most likely team to trade up to number 1 because it's between them and Washington. And I think with Washington, I think you could play it safe and go, okay, if we think the asking price is too much, we can go with May. With the Patriots, you're afraid of both another team swooping in or the Bears deciding to move on. And to me, it makes more sense for the Bears to stick with Fields and then go MHJ. But if you're the Bears, you don't want to go below the Cardinals because Cardinals, I think, if MHJ drops to 4, Cardinals are getting him. Mm-hmm. That to me seems like a perfect fit with Kyler Murray and MHJ. So I think, to me, the most likely scenario here is that Patriots move up to 1, get their guy, Washington takes a QB, Bears drop down to 3, they get MHJ. Because I genuinely disagree with you on this. I genuinely do think the Bears are going to stick with Fields. I think they see him, at very least, maybe their guy. I don't see them going massive contract. I see bridge contract. I see maybe 2-3 year deal. Something that can set him up for another contract, trying to get him ready. Because I think they have a lot of faith in him. And I think the last couple of weeks they liked what they've seen from him. I think they just want more. And they probably are looking at this and going, all right, we give him MHJ. He has DJ Moore. With that other pick, I think they have the 9th overall pick as well. Mm-hmm. 9th overall pick, I see them either going offensive tackle to get a left tackle to pair with Darnell Wright. So they have a very young tackle group along with MHJ, and they look at Fields and go, hey, you have the offense, you have the line, you have the weapons. There's no excuse anymore. We're going to compete, and we believe in you. Because my thing with the Bears is I think they really think they're on the precipice, and I think they look at getting a QB as a soft reset, and I don't think they want to reset. Rusty, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was just doing some research on Justin Fields there. So, they still have him for 1 more year, guaranteed under contract. Plus, the 5th year option is still available. That determination will be this off season, I believe, is when 2021 draft picks have to have their option accepted or declined. So they have that. They can control him for 2 more years, plus 3 if they franchise tag him in 2026. So, yeah, they still have a boatload of control if they want to go that option. I will LMAO once again if that happens, because it would just be hilarious since I'm a Justin Fields hater. But, yeah, no, the Patriots to 1 makes a lot of sense, and it wouldn't be for Caleb Williams. I can tell you that right now. Caleb Williams is not a Patriot guy. Because
you think they'd go Drake May number 1?
Yes. Drake May feels more like a Patriots draft pick than Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams, between the 2 teams, I think he fits better in Washington anyways. With the history of dual threat quarterbacks that they've had in Washington, RG3, Donovan McNabb, et cetera, Doug Williams. Yeah. So I think that makes a lot more sense. Anyways, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we've got to see. We don't know what's going to happen in New England. There's still a lot to work out if Bill's going to leave. And then the rumblings that I've been hearing is it's an easy thing. Like if Bill is gone, like it's Vrabel to New England, like everyone's locking that in right now. If Bill's gone, that Mike Vrabel will head to New England and pick that up where he played. And then we'll have to see who they bring in as a GM. So, yeah. It'll be interesting. Patriots definitely one of the top storylines of the off season coming up. But yeah, the Jets plus 2.5 winning outright under 28.5 there. And Logan, Lone Wolf, and the Patriots.
I said
on Friday I originally picked the Patriots, but then I remembered my promise at the beginning of the year after I lost multiple games picking the Patriots that I would never pick the Patriots again. And I did not. So, anyways, Saints blowing out the Falcons 48-17. They did what they had to do. Panthers couldn't help them out, unfortunately, or the Packers, but I'm happy that the Packers didn't because I needed the Bears to lose for season win total purposes. Desmond Ridder, 22 of 30, 73.3%, 291, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Logan Woodside also playing late in this one, 3 of 4, 75%, 27 yards and a pick. Derek Carr was pretty good his last game, 22 of 28, 78.6%, 264, 4 touchdowns. And this win, from what I've heard, is going to save Dennis Allen for another year.
Yikes.
Because to come back the way the Saints did after they were, a little bit out of it, a couple games out of the division, beat the Bucs, beat the Falcons, give yourself a chance anyways at the division and the playoffs. I think they're going to run it back again next year. Obviously, Saints, like they always do, got to figure out the cap. That's why they started doing that last week, restructuring Marshawn Lattimore's deal to free up about $11 million in cap space already. So, yeah, Saints will be back next year.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of keeping Dennis Allen because he did the same thing last year. I mean, he won 3 of his last 4 last year after being 4-9 and finished 7-10. And this year, 9-8. Okay, that's 2-game increase. I mean, improvement. But I don't know. I don't think Dennis Allen is good enough to he's maybe good enough to get them to a playoff spot, but he's just not good enough to probably win a playoff game. And let's be honest, the NFC South, that's tank division. It was the worst division in the NFL. I mean, and he couldn't pull it off. I mean, I don't know. This is just if I'm a Saints fan, I'm not really happy with the idea that Dennis Allen gets, a longer leash because
the trajectory means 11-6 next year.
Does it?
That's at least a wild card.
Does it? Because I mean, another year is just another year of guys getting older. I mean,
the defense is pretty old.
Yeah,
but offensively, they just got to get a second fiddle to Chris Olave, which, I mean, they might believe enough in Rashid Shaheed to not even spend, money in free agency, which they don't have anyways, or, a premium draft pick on an offensive weapon because Rashid Shaheed balled out this year as a premier deep threat, and a guy that's been reliable for Derek Carr. So I think what would be interesting would be Brock Bowers for New Orleans Saints. They have Taysom. I understand. He's listed as a quarterback, though. Has been since like halfway through this season. Even though they list him at tight end and quarterback on the depth chart. But I'm just saying, you have Olave as your main perimeter guy. You get Shaheed as your deep threat, and then you got Brock Bowers working the middle of the field. Dude. And then you got Kamara come out of the backfield as well. Like, that's a pretty solid offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with Jimmy. I'm not buying it. And
I think they'd rather
my issue with it. My issue for the Saints the past couple of years has been the team building strategy. It feels like they run it back every year. And to me, there are just too many holes on this team for them to keep doubling down and just keep running it back. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I don't necessarily disagree with keeping Dennis Allen because I think he's a really good defensive mind. And I think you could do much worse at head coach. I just think from a team building standpoint, I don't know really the direction they're going to go in. It seems like they don't have a whole lot put together in terms of long-term strategy for where they want to go. So yeah, it feels just kind of like they're in a little bit of a football purgatory. And like you mentioned it, Jimmy, I mean, the NFC South was soft and you missed the playoffs going 9-8. It's just tough. It's just tough when you run it back and you were supposed to be the dominant team in that division.
It's just, this is usually what happens when a team refuses to hit the reset button. I mean, they should have just hit it hard when, Sean Payton left and Drew Brees retired, but they just looked at their team and went, okay, we still have guys here. Let's see if we can make it work. And I mean, it's risky, but it rarely ever works out. It seems like a good idea on paper. It's like, okay, we still have our guys, we still have our defense, we still have our weapons. But it's like, okay, but this team was Sean Payton's and Drew Brees's. That's what this team was for a decade. I mean, if you see those two guys go and you don't hit that hard reset button and try to get the best you can for some talent, in the trade market and let guys go and try to free up cap space, and you just constantly just spin the hamster wheel of mediocrity. This is what you get. You finish seasons 7-10, 8-9, 9-8 at best, barely missing the playoffs, sitting at the anywhere from the 12th to 15th draft pick, and just not getting good enough draft capital to really get a transcendent talent. And I get it. The draft's usually a crapshoot, but it's a lot easier of a crapshoot if you're in a top 10 instead of the mid-teens.
Well, if they wanted to, they could sort of reset it. It would take 2 years because they'd have to cut a lot of players post June 1 designations to split the money over 2024 and 2025 caps. Because right now they don't have a lot of cap liabilities on the dead cap for 2024, just $2.8 million in dead cap money. The issue is just the salaries, the cap hits for their top. They have 12 players with over $10 million in cap hits. And Derek Carr's is already astronomical, 35.7. Ryan Ramczyk is making is 27 million cap hit, and then Cam Jordan's 23.3, Kamara is 18.9, Demario Davis is 18. So just those five alone make up 40% of the cap space right there. And right now they're sitting at 75 mil over because they only got to roll over 3.65 from 2023, or they will. So, yeah, it's a lot. And they don't have – there's literally no guys that have a dead cap number that is workable. Cesar Ruiz would be the first guy that's under $10 million dead cap hit. And that's not – it's just under 9.35. So they're also paying Michael Thomas way too much money because of the restructures that he's been given and whatnot. So, yeah, we'll see. Anyways, back to the game here. Kendre Miller leading the game in rushing, 13 carries, 73 yards, touchdown, 6-yard reception. Bijan, not very good on the ground, just 28 yards on 11 carries, but a 100-yard receiving day because he caught a 71-yard catch and run touchdown, 7 for 103, a touchdown on 8 targets through the air. Scott Miller leading the game in receiving, 2 for 66 on 2 targets. Caught a big long ball down the sideline. 2-touchdown day for the rookie, A.T. Perry. 3 catches, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns on 3 targets. I'm excited for him going into year 2 next year. See if what his development steps can take. Defensively, I'm going with Falcons. The GOAT. Defense tackle, Calais Campbell. 5 tackles, 4 solos, sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Think he hangs it up finally this year? 37? I think
At that position, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's 37.
37-year-old defensive tackle, that's a unicorn. I'd be really surprised if he came back. I could see him coming back if like Falcons were on the precipice of competing and they're like, ooh, maybe next year we can make a run for a Super Bowl, but the Falcons are far away from that. They really
all they need is a quarterback, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, getting a quarterback is very difficult, because like, I mean, I don't see him going for anyone in free agency. I mean, I don't see him signing someone like Kirk Cousins.
They're gonna trade for Kirk Cousins.
No, don't. That's my guy. Don't you dare touch my sweet prince, Kirk Cousins.
The Vikings are gonna execute a sign and trade.
Don't do it, please. I can't lose my guy. He's the only thing keeping me going.
All right, before we leave this slide here, I gotta ask you guys, where do we fall on the last play of the game there? The Jamal Williams, the fake kneel.
That was not like Dennis Allen said. That was not his call. Like Jameis and the guys on the field made that call. Dennis told him to kneel the ball, and they're like, "No, we want Jamal to get a touchdown." It's like, okay. I mean, Arthur Smith had every right to be mad, but like when Dennis Allen tells him like, "Sorry, like I didn't call that play," what are you gonna do about it?
I don't believe in the concept of running up the score. It's like if you don't want them to score on you, prevent them. But this is a very different scenario. It was a team lining up in a blowout, lining up in the last game of the season where it didn't matter because neither team was making playoffs, lining up to kneel and then suddenly pulling a switcheroo and getting a touchdown. I mean, that could have gotten a player injured. I don't, I don't want to be a Karen because I don't believe running up a score is the thing. Don't be a baby if teams score on you. But this is one of those situations where it's like, yeah, that was an entire offensive unit going rogue from their own coach. That is probably the issue here. It's not an issue of scoring. It's the issue of an entire team just going like, yeah, we're not going to listen to the coach. We're going to run a different play. That to me was probably the bigger issue of this. And I mean, of course, it's famous Jameis, right? I mean, no other QB would pull this kind of crap off. So, I mean, it's par for the course for Jameis. I mean, this is just another funny story on the Jameis train.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jimmy. I second that, especially when you're in a division rivalry like this, like run up the score, whatever. Like, I don't care. But you can't do it when you're lining up for a kneel. It's just, it's the unwritten rules of the game.
Yeah. If they lined up like a normal I formation, ran a normal play, got the touchdown, no one's talking. It's not a thing. I'd be like, yeah, touchdown. They give Jamal Williams his one touchdown of the year. He had a bad year. Want to get something on the year on a high note. Yeah, I would agree to that. But yeah, that makes sense. But like, it's the lining up to kneel, not listening to your coach, doing something like that. Like, that's a stunt I don't agree with.
Saints cover -3.5 over 41.5 by themselves. Bye, Logan. Titans 28-20 over the Jags, sending the Steelers and the Bills to the AFC playoffs. And thankfully this happened because I was rooting for the Jags because I had them winning the AFC South. And then obviously the Sunday night game didn't go how I wanted it to. But yeah, I mean, Vrabes went out a winner. At least he can say that.
Can't say that about Belichick.
Yeah. But I mean, it's so bad, man. The Jags, the collapse. They had Kornacki there, Steve Kornacki on NBC during the Sunday night game talking about the Jags collapse. I think it was like week 13 or 14. They had a 93% chance to win the division. I think, or maybe it was to make the playoffs, 93%. Whatever. But their division chance is super high because they were leading by like 3 or 4 games. And just like to fall flat on your face week after week after week while your division opponents continued to win. It's tough luck for Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. I understand they had CJ Beathard in one of those games, most of the Bengals game as well. But yeah.
Yeah. I think I called them at one point the probably the most milk toast team of 2023. Just I don't know, to me they just felt really soft and like just not a lot of heart or effort. And I mean it's tough because I mean Trevor Lawrence was pretty banged up for a good chunk of the season, especially down the stretch there. But I mean, the biggest disappointment for me was this receiving core. I mean, someone posted today all the potential touchdowns that Trevor Lawrence would have had somebody not drop the ball. It was 2 minutes long. It was a full 2 minutes of guys dropping balls in the end zone. So yeah, that was a big disappointment. And I think kind of a microcosm of kind of the Jaguars' whole season this year.
Well, yeah, and like I listed on Friday's show, I think it was because they activated Christian Kirk for this game off of IR. I don't think he played though, right? But it's crazy how much better they are as a team, as a whole offense, when Christian Kirk is on the field. They did not win a single game this year, I believe, without Christian Kirk.
Yikes.
So that's how important he is. And that's how important he is to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, that's why they signed Christian Kirk, was to give Trevor Lawrence a number one receiver. And while I don't think many people recognize Kirk as that type of guy, the stats don't lie that he is that guy for the Jags, at least. And Calvin really has not been that guy. Maybe it's rust. Maybe it's because Calvin was out for so long. And maybe that's why he wasn't the guy that we saw in Atlanta this whole season. He has moments. He had 100 yards in this one. He had a couple other 100-yard games. But I don't know. Maybe year 2 in Jacksonville is going to be better for Calvin Ridley. We'll see. They have to sign him first, I guess. They have not re-signed him yet, which is going to be an interesting decision for Jacksonville. Do you give up the draft pick compensation, the higher compensation, by signing him? Because I'm trying to remember the terms of the deal. Let's see. So it was a conditional 4th. And if he let's see. Okay, so he needed 60% snaps or 75 catches or 1,000 yards to become a third, which he did have that. And then it becomes a second, I believe, if they sign him to an extension before the draft, which they would have to, otherwise he's a free agent. So yeah, It's, do you want to give up a second round as opposed to a third rounder for Calvin Ridley?
Man, that's tough.
Because yeah, he'll be a 30-year-old free agent if you don't re-sign him.
I think you gotta let him go.
Mm,
I think if I'm the Jags, I'd rather just let him go and then use that second round pick on a wide receiver than pay a second round pick to keep him.
Yeah, but like I said, I think the potential for year 2 in Jacksonville with a full off season, you know, I don't know. I think it could get better, especially with a healthy Trevor Lawrence and a healthy Christian Kirk. But you know, on your side, Jimmy, though, more than likely he'd sign a big enough deal with someone else so you'd get a third round compensatory selection in 2025.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so T-Law, 29 of 43, 67.4%, 280, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 3 carries for 10 yards. Tannehill, probably his final game in Tennessee, would have to think, 17 of 26, 65.4%, 168, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Derrick Henry, also, last game in Nashville, 19 carries, 153 yards, touchdown. It's also a pretty good way to go out. Ending the Jags season as well. Titans rookie running back Tajay Spears, 2 touchdown day for him, 3 carries, 25 yards to score, 3 catches, 41 yards receiving touchdown. Mentioned Calvin Ridley, over 100, 6 for 106, touchdown on 10 targets. Evan Ingram, big target day for him, caught 10 for 79, touchdown on 13 targets. Hopkins, also 10 targets, caught 7 for 46 and a score. Defensively, going with Jags linebacker Josh Allen, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Yeah, Tennessee, they got some interesting personnel decisions to make. Obviously, Tannehill's not going to be there, but the Henry thing is, do you sign a 30-year-old running back or not? When you have a dynamic guy like Spears that has gotten better every week this year, to pair with your young quarterback. I don't know. Titans plus 3.5 went outright over 41.5. I don't know why. Giants 27.
You want to skip this one, Rusty, or
plus 10?
You can step out. We can take care of it.
I might go back to the bathroom on this one.
Yeah.
That's where the Eagles are at anyway, so. Dude, like I don't have answers. Like when people ask me what is wrong with the Eagles, I don't have an answer because it's a lot of things.
Dude, not even Nick Sirianni has an answer, and that's the worst part.
Specifically this game, it was the combination of lack of personnel available, Devontae Smith out, Darius Slay still out, and then, A.J. Brown gets injured, and they mentioned it on the broadcast, like, Jalen was throwing to Julio, a 30-year-old Julio Jones in his freaking 14th season, and he's throwing to Quez Watkins, Olamide Zaccheaus, and I don't even know who the other guys were. Britton Covey was playing receiver. He never plays receiver. He only punt returns usually. So yeah, they had to pull him out once the Eagles got down a bit, and they saw the Cowboys score start to turn in heavy favorite to Dallas. there was no incentive for the Eagles to play their starters anymore. And I supported the decision, even though I needed the Eagles to win still, because I needed them to get the 12 wins for their win total purposes. Thought that was a lock a couple weeks ago with the schedule they had down the stretch.
Yeah, with the start they had.
Yeah, I needed 2 wins. 10-1. I needed 2 wins in the last 6 games. What a yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah, Tyrod was outstanding in this game. 23 of 32, 71.9%, 297, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 8 carries for 38 yards. He's the new franchise quarterback of the New York Giants, y'all.
I believe it.
Daniel who?
Exactly.
Marcus Mariota, I'll go Jalen Hurts first since he started. 7 of 16 for Hurts, 43.8%, 55 yards a pick. Marcus Mariota wasn't too bad. 13 of 20, 65%, 148, 1 touchdown, a pick, 6 carries, 46 yards, and a fumble. Obviously, the turnovers continue to be an issue for Philadelphia. But I was talking to my dad about this last night, and like, it's kind of the same thing. We saw Michael Penix last night. Like, Michael Penix was not the same after his ankle got stepped on because it was his drive foot. Being a lefty, his right foot was his drive leg. So you can't plant and drive the ball as much when your drive leg is hindered, whether that be an ankle, a foot, or a knee. And I said it's the same thing, though, that Michael Penix had, but Jalen Hurts has just been dealing with it it's been all season. Most of the year, anyways, at least half. His left knee he's not healthy. It's clear that Jalen Hurts is not healthy because it's not even close to the performance that he had last year. And you can see he literally cannot drive. And it's the same thing that you saw last night. It's when you can't drive off your front leg, the ball sails. And that's where Jalen Hurts has missed a lot this year, has been high. So, yeah, I mean.
And we did talk about that last week. It's like there's a reason why the Eagles basically running their offense exclusively runs out of shotgun. Is that Jalen Hurts legitimately just can't do 5 to 7 step drops right now.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, though, the offense, it's not the offense. Like, they scored 31 against Cardinals. 31 should be enough to win at most games in the NFL. It's the defense. Defense, the switch to Matt Patricia play calling has not worked. Obviously, it's not Sean Desai. That's the issue. It's the personnel. They do not have the players, specifically on the back end. People are making a big deal about the front four right now not being as potent as they were last year. Well, of course they're not going to be as potent as they were last year. You see how much they missed Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave is being a beast for San Francisco right now. Obviously, like, he was a beast for Philadelphia. He had 10 sacks last year out of their 70. And, Fletcher Cox is another year older. And, Jordan Davis, second-year guy. Jalen Carter's a rookie. You can't expect guys to just, like, step in and have, double-digit sack seasons right off the bat, especially at the defensive tackle position. And they don't have a premium, like Hassan Reddick's having a decent season, actually. He made the Pro Bowl, which I was surprised about, but not as dominant as last year because he's getting all the attention from the offensive line because they're not as worried about the interior as they were last year. But yeah, the back end is terrible. The back seven, they have not historically invested at linebacker. They've gotten guys off the street the last two preseasons that have been actually decent players. Like Zach Cunningham has played pretty well this year, but the injuries continue to hurt Nakobe Dean. James Bradbury is having an absolutely terrible year compared to last year. And Darius Slay has been hurt, and then they have all kinds of injuries at the safety position as well, where they had to go out and make the trade for Kevin Byard. Sidney Brown goes down in this game. Reed Blankenship has been in and out of the lineup. So, yeah, it's a lot of things on the defensive side of the ball. There's a big, long rant about the Eagles' defensive issues.
One thing I'll add, too, is I think that as a team, I think they are also dealing with the effects of losing both their coordinators. We've seen Shane Steichen have some really good success. And even Gannon, who has been kind of a pleasant surprise. I know, I mean, obviously the Cardinals didn't have a great season by any means, but to be honest, I mean, you know, they were the runaway favorite to get that number one spot at the beginning of the season. So for him to kind of get some guys to buy in and scrape together has been really interesting. So I think the Eagles are also missing those two guys as well.
Yeah, for sure. Kenneth Gainwell led the game in rushing in this one, 7 carries, 62 yards. Saquon ending on a high note, two touchdowns on a poor rushing day, 18 carries, 46 yards, 2 scores, 2 catches, 51 yards. Quez Watkins did lead the game in receiving, 8 for 93, a touchdown on 11 targets. And then defensively, I got to go with Giants safety Xavier McKinney, 6 tackles, 2 solos, 3 pass deflections, 2 picks. Giants plus 4.5 went outright under 43.5. Seahawks 21-20 over the Cardinals. Dude, I was telling Logan this last night, Jimmy. The picks, it was so bad. I lost 3 games. Well, we all lost the San Francisco game, but I lost 3 games by 1 friggin' point. This game, the Chargers game as well, both lone wolves for me. It's ridiculous. I just hate the Seahawks for going for the win. Where's the conservative Pete Carroll that we all know and love? The one that threw the ball on the goal line of the Super Bowl. Anyways, Kyler Murray, 22 of 30, 73.3%, 262, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 33 yards. Geno, 16 of 28, 57.1%, 189, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries for 28 yards. I guess the rationale for the Seahawks at this point in time was like they have to win because if they win and the Packers lose, they're in. Yeah, sure. Guess so. But I needed the Cardinals to win, sir. James Conner, dude. James Conner, he had a tremendous season in Arizona for a 4-win team. 27 carries, 150 yards, a touchdown, 4 catches, 54 yards. How about James Conner's season-ending performance? 31 touches, 204 total yards, and a touchdown. Cardinals wide receiver Michael Wilson, the rookie, leading the game in receiving, 6 for 95, 6 targets. He's another guy that I'm super hyped about for year 2. I got onto him kind of early in the season. I have him in my Dynasty League, and I think he was actually one of the guys the only guy that I took off my taxi squad because I needed a receiver. And he was up and down, but the last couple of games of the year, he's been really good. Defensively, there was 0. So I'm going to go with Seahawks corner Devin Witherspoon, 11 tackles, 7 solos, 3 tackles for loss. Yeah, it's tackles, not carries for Bobby Wagner. I don't know what I was doing. Cardinals.
Cool threat, Bobby Wagner.
Cardinals plus 2.5. They cover under 48.5. Some of these totals were crazy high. I don't know why. A lot of them were like mid-high 40s. Go Pack, go!
Dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yes, sir.
No, dude, the song is so bad.
It's awful.
It's not as bad as the Bears, bro. The Bears, good lord,
Bear down, Chicago Bears.
it's so bad.
Yeah, fight.
I went there for the history of the stadium, and that my one time there, that was good enough. I don't have to go back. But yeah, 17-9 Packers punched the ticket to the playoffs, and they're gonna get killed, unfortunately. I'll be rooting for them, but it's just not. It's not a great proposition right now.
Hey, if anybody has Dallas's number, just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Jordan Love, 27-32, 84.4%, 316, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. They got to get some guys back. Got some guys dinged up though, so hopefully they'll be 100% going in.
That's been the most impressive part about this stretch. I mean, I don't think he's played a game this year with his full starting offensive unit, whether it's O-line or receiving core.
Mm-hmm. No, Musgrave will be back, hopefully. They activated him off IR on Friday or last week.
He did catch one pass. He came like 10 yards shy of Bubba Frank's rookie tight end record for the Packers.
Rip.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, 11 of 16, 68.8%, 148, 8 carries for 27 yards. Aaron Jones had a hell of a game. 22 carries, 111 yards, 5 catches, 30 yards on 5 targets, 27 touches for Mr. Jones. It's Aaron Jones I've been waiting to see like all season.
Yeah. He's been banged up too. The rumors of Aaron Jones' demise have been greatly exaggerated.
It's all that farmer simulator, man. It's really been helping him.
How about Jaden Reed, the rookie? 100-yard performance, 4 catches, 112 yards, 4 targets. His fellow rookie, Dontavian Wicks, 2 touchdowns in this one, 6 for 61, 2 scores on 7 targets. The Rook's getting it done. I saw Tucker Kraft with a big, long reception as well in this one.
Yeah. In all honesty, man, like this is if everything holds and these guys progress, this is like the best draft, I've probably seen in a while for the Packers and maybe in my lifetime. I mean, we completely restocked the weapons shelf. And we picked up some other high impact guys like Carl Brooks. I mean, just some really high level stuff that's really helped build this young team.
Yeah, and that 2 drafts in a row with Dobbs and Watson as well last year.
Mm-hmm.
But defensively, I'm going with that rookie that you mentioned, defensive end Carl Brooks. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 QB hit. I'm not going to ask you, Logan, because I think you know. Jimmy, where did Carl Brooks go to school?
Ah, shoot. I don't know. Minneapolis Culinary Academy. I don't know.
Logan, you know, right?
Yeah, Bowling Green, baby.
The Falcons. Go Falcons.
Yep. Where he played edge for them at like 300 pounds.
6th round? Was it 6th? 5th?
Yeah, 6th. I think they got him in the 6th.
Packers cover -2.5, under 45.5.
All right, brothers. I got to hop out.
All right, man. Let's see you. So this was the other heartbreaker that I mentioned. Dude, like, come on, bro. You're playing against Blaine Gabbert. You can't.
Dude, that's legend Blaine Gabbert for you. That's Super Bowl champion Blaine Gabbert for you.
God, dude, can't believe Easton Stick did this to me. 28 of 47, 59.6%, 258, 13 carries, 77 yards, a fumble. Blaine Gabbert was not even good. Like he didn't even play well. Like 15 of 30, 50%, 154, one pick, 5 carries for 46 yards. That's an eye opener though. That Blaine Gabbert can run for 46 yards. I didn't know he could run that far. LaMichael Pirine, blast from the past there, was the leading rusher in this one. 21 carries, 76 yards, 3 catches for 33 yards. Bro, his body was probably so sore yesterday. Like he has not touched the ball that many times since his Florida days. I think if where I recall is where he went to school. But yeah, he had to be hurting yesterday with that many touches. Austin Eckler was 2023 Austin Eckler once again. He didn't even lead the Chargers in rushing. It was Easton Stick, which I guess Easton Stick technically led the game in rushing. I misspoke when I said Pirine. Pirine Stick got him by a yard. But yeah, Austin Eckler, I have no clue what was wrong this year other than he was hurt most of the year. But yeah, 10 carries for 11 yards. Fantastic.
Efficient.
Great receiving day, though. 7 catches. Only 38 yards, though. 8 targets for him. Donald Parham Jr. led the game in receiving 5 catches, 83 yards on 6 targets. Mecole Hardman had a double-digit target day for the Chiefs, 6 for 77 on 11 targets. Josh Palmer, also 10 targets, 6 for 44 on those 10. And then defensively, 2 guys. Chargers linebacker Khalil Mack continues his really just weird career resurgence season. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 5 QB hits.
You there, Rusty?
Yeah.
No,
I don't know why I didn't have the other option on my other camera for some reason.
No.
And then so Mack is one of my guys, and then Mike Edwards, the 97-yard fumble return for a touchdown, safety for the Chiefs. He is the other one that opened the scoring on the day. The only touchdown on the day, I believe. Yeah. Cameron Dicker, also Dicker the kicker, 4 for 4. 4 for 4 for the Chargers, 49 yards long. Chiefs plus 3.5 went outright under 36.5. Raiders. Raiders. 27-14 over the Broncos, helping me cash the Broncos under 8.5 wins this year. Jarrett Stidham for Denver, 20-34, 58.8%, 272, touchdown a pick. Aiden O'Connell, 20-31, 64.5%, 244, 2 touchdowns. Zeus, Zamir White, 100-yard day for him, 25 carries, 112 yards, 9-yard reception. I was pissed, bro. Sleeper, gave everyone $25 on their picks thing that they have on there. Free $25. So I put five $5 entries in. Only won 1. I should have won 2 though. All I needed was freaking Zamir White to score, and they got close, and then he didn't. Then they threw the ball at like the 3-yard line. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Anyways, Brandon Johnson for the Broncos led the game in receiving, 4 for 88 on 5 targets. 2 touchdown day for Jacoby Myers, 3 catches, 61 yards, touchdown on 5 targets, and then a 5-yard rushing touchdown as well. A lot of defensive performances in this one, but I got to go with the tattoo menace, Max Crosby. 2 tackles, both of them solos, sack, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits. Raiders minus 3.5, covered over 37.5. Rams. It's when Carson Wentz got us, man. He got all
Sam
three of
Darnold
us.
versus Carson Wentz. What year is it?
So it may or may not be 2020. Sam Darnold, 16 of 26, 61.5%, 189, one touchdown, 7 carries for 19 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. Carson Wentz, 17 of 24, 70.8%, 163, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 17 carries, 56 yards. And he said, Sam Darnold, I will see your rushing touchdown. I will call.
Not bad.
Elijah Mitchell leading the game in rushing outside of Wentz for San Fran, 14 for 52, a touchdown, 2 catches for 15 yards. How about Chris Conley leading the game in receiving for San Francisco? I didn't even know he was on the Niners. 3 catches, 69 yards on 6 targets. Puka Nacua, he hit the he broke the rookie receiving yardage and touchdown records in this game. Or no, yardage and receptions record, I should say. Both of those he got in this game. And then defensively, there wasn't a lot. I'm going to go with 49ers linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. 10 tackles, 6 solos, 3 tackles for loss. Rams plus 5.5. Win outright over 40.5. By the hook. Cowboys 38-10, thromping over the Commanders. I lone wolfed the Washington Commanders. Yes, I did.
Had to keep hope alive.
Dude, just like last week, though, against the 49ers, like, it was 10-10. Like, they were in it. They were there. And then Brian Robinson fumbled the ball. Sam Howell threw interceptions and did not go well. Dak, 31 of 36, 86.41%, 279, 4 touchdowns, a pick. Cooper Rush played late in this one, 3 of 4, 75% for 30 yards. Why do backup quarterbacks always go 3 for 4 in the NFL? like every
5 passes, that'd be dangerous.
All of the ones that we've had in the NFL on this week that have been like just late game plays, all gone 3 for 4. Sam Howell, 19 of 27, 70.4%, 153, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Tony Pollard led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 70 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 16 yards. CeeDee Lamb went off once again, 13 catches, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns on 13 targets. And defensively, about Cowboys defensive end Dante Fowler Jr., 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Cowboys minus 13.5 covered over 46.5. Sunday Night Football, the Bills win the AFC East. I lost a lone wolf on Miami, 21-14 for Buffalo. And I really don't know, like, dude, the Dolphins, they had the game. It's 14-7 at halftime. And, yeah, I mean, they had it right in their hands. They just needed to finish and couldn't get it done. The 96-yard punt return touchdown by Deontay Hardy swung the momentum, and then Josh Allen really it just took the one drive that they scored the game-winning touchdown on, and that was it because the Dolphins' defense did everything. Shut down the Bills' offense for most of the game, and they got the ball back to the offense. That was just a crazy stop that they made on Josh Allen. They call it Chris Collinsworth the bobsled push. And then they added the bobsled with a leap during the game. Their version of the tush push. But, yeah, I mean, that was an excellent stop by the Dolphins D to get Allen like a foot short of the first down on 4th down, give the Dolphins one more chance to tie the game. And then unfortunately, so they had a pass interference, but Tyreek still dropped the ball on that one. And then he dropped another ball that was right in his hands. And then he gets hurt. And then on the final play, they don't have Tyreek Hill. You're throwing to guys like Chase Claypool, Braxton Berrios, and River Craycraft out there. And I don't know if it was just a miscommunication or what. I think I did see, though, what Tua was thinking when he threw that ball. Because it was to Chase Claypool, and it was a corner route. And from what the coverage looked like, because the safety was a little bit deeper and came up and dove, Taylor Rapp did to make that interception. So I think what Tua was doing was trying to make Claypool flatten the route out so he wouldn't run into the safety, and that, he would have a chance to get out of bounds if he caught that ball as well. So, but again, it's Chase Claypool. So, anyways, it's tough. I had the Dolphins winning the division. Gonna have to go on the road. Bills play the Steelers. It's not going to be great. And by next show on Friday, I will not have a beard anymore not on Friday. By next Tuesday's show, I will not have a beard anymore because both my teams will be out of the playoffs. More than likely.
End of an era.
But Josh Allen, 30 of 38, 78.9%, 359, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 15 carries, 67 yards, a fumble. Tua Tagovailoa, 17 of 27, 63%, 173, touchdown, 2 picks. Devon Achane, 10 carries, 56 yards, touchdown, and a 5-yard reception. Khalil Shakir over 100 in this one, 6 for 105 on 6 targets. 13 target day for Tyreek. He only caught 7 for 82, a touchdown. Like I said, he dropped at least 2 balls. And that has been something that has been very frustrating for me watching the Dolphins the last couple of games. Dropped that touchdown in Baltimore last week as well. So I don't know what Tyreek's doing. I don't know what's happening. He's not 100% either. So defensively, go with the bottom guy. Dolphins linebacker Melvin Ingram, 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Bills minus 2.5, covered under 48.5. College football news, transfer portal. There was a ton this week. I don't know why. Washington quarterback Dylan Morris, he has committed to James Madison. Texas safety Keaton Crawford and defensive back Jaron Thompson, they are both in the portal. Troy wide receiver Jabre Barber, he is committed to Texas A&M, so that's a good get for new head coach Mike Elko down there in College Station. Also, Jeff Brom continues to just sweep up the transfer portal right now for Louisville. He got a commit from Toledo running back Penny Boone, all MAC selection. Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. Good news for Jamie Chadwell and the Flames. Salter has withdrawn from the portal. Georgia Tech quarterback Zach Gibson has committed to Georgia State, so he doesn't have to go far. Literally just right across Atlanta, and he's there because Georgia Tech, Georgia State, both in Atlanta. Alabama center Seth McLaughlin, he is committed to Ohio State. So there you go, Jimmy. You got the guy that can't snap the ball right.
Let's go.
Houston offensive lineman Ruben Unije, he is committed to Louisville. What do you know? Another get for Jeff Braun there. Florida State quarterback Tate Rodemaker. I don't think this is official. I just saw that he is going or is planning to commit to Southern Miss. What an interesting decision by Tate Rodemaker. FSU, USM. Interesting. Texas safety Jalen Catalan, he has committed to UNLV. Texas State quarterback Malik Hornsby, he's committed to Arkansas State. So back to Arkansas, where he started his collegiate career at Arkansas. North Dakota quarterback Tommy Schuster, he is committed to Michigan State. So that looks like that's going to be an interesting quarterback battle for the Spartans and new head coach Jonathan Smith, with Schuster now in the fold, battling the guy that Smith brought with him from Oregon State, Aiden Childs. Appalachian State running back Nate Noel commits to Missouri, so potential replacement for Cody Schrader next season. Oklahoma running back Marcus Majors committed to Minnesota. Stanford running back E.J. Smith, that's Emmitt Smith's son, committed to Texas A&M. So he's going to be on the big stage next year. Indiana running back Jalen Lucas committed to Florida State. Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins committed to Ohio State.
Yay.
That's so annoying, bro. He's so good. Him and Travion Henderson together next year is going to be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Albany quarterback Reese Poffenbarger, he has committed to the Miami. UNLV quarterback Jaden Mayava. This was an interesting one. He is committed to Georgia. The Mountain West Freshman of the Year, Jaden Mayava. So he's not going to be the starter, obviously, and he knows that. It was an interesting decision. I've seen some of the stuff, some of his comments that he put out about his decision to go to Georgia. It's about 2025 for him. He wants to sit and learn from Carson Beck this year, and then come back, fight, and be the starter for 2025. So it's like I said, it's really interesting. Don't see many guys doing that. Everyone wants to play, but Mayava's fine sitting on the bench for one season. Draft declarations: Alabama wide receiver Jermaine Burton, LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors, Missouri kicker Harrison Mevis, and then UCF wide receiver Javon Baker. Senior Bowl, guys, Marshall running back Rasheen Ali, Washington State defensive end Brennan Jackson, and Rice wide receiver Luke McCaffrey. Christian's brother is going to Mobile, where Christian put on a show. I remember him playing in the Senior Bowl as well. At Stanford, number 5. McCaffrey, man. Did it all. The UFL. So we have the roster set now post intra-league dispersal draft. So the XFL had their dispersal draft. USFL had their dispersal draft. And then in a couple weeks, I think it's next week. I think it's next Monday, MLK Day, I think January 15th, is the interleague dispersal draft. So everyone that hasn't been picked yet from the now defunct 8 teams, 4 for each league, all of the players are now available to be selected by all 8 or by whichever league, So, but yeah, so guys that I saw worth mentioning on the teams. I know they're long lists. I apologize, Jimmy.
It's all right. I'm a good reader.
For the defending XFL champs, the Arlington Renegades, they got former Seahawks quarterback Holton Ahlers, Vipers linebacker Vic Beasley, Roughnecks wide receiver Deontay Burnett, Guardians running back Devin Darrington, Sea Dragons running back Morgan Ellison, Roughnecks defensive back Ajene Harris, Liberty running back Day Hunter, Liberty linebacker Story Jackson, Oklahoma defensive tackle Jalen Redmond, Oklahoma offensive lineman Drew Samia, Roughnecks quarterback Lindsey Scott, Vipers defensive end LaRon Stokes, and then the guys that are worth mentioning that they kept because they were allowed to protect for up to 42 players that were on their roster this offseason and from last year. So Renegades, the the guys they kept: quarterback Luis Perez, running back Letty Brown, running back Davion Smith, wide receivers Javante Payton, Caleb Van Der Esch, Tyler Vaughns, Luwan Winningham, offensive tackles Garrett McGinn and Tayton Saltes, defensive tackle Bunmi Rotimi, defensive lineman Tomasi Laulil, linebacker Donald Payne, linebacker Colin Schooler, linebackers Tuzar Skipper and Willie Taylor, defensive back Jamar Summers, punter Marquette King, and kicker Taylor Russolino. My DC Defenders. They got better, but they kept a lot of good players from their team because their team obviously was good last year. They made it to the XFL championship game. They got Vipers defensive back Deontay Anderson, former Texans defensive back Garyon Conley. He last played in 2020, so coming back. Sea Dragons linebacker Jordan Evans, Guardians quarterback DeAndre Francois, Roughnecks linebacker Trent Harris, Roughnecks linebacker Tim Ward, and the defenders that they kept from last year, running backs Cameron Harris and Abram Smith, who is just a beast. Vikings legend Abram Smith.
Legend.
Wide receivers Jazz Ferguson, Josh Hammond, Kelvin Harmon, Brandon Smith, and Preston Williams. Tight ends Alex Ellis and Briley Moore McKinney. Center Michael Mayetti. Offensive tackle Tommy Champion. Defensive tackles Fidal Brown and Joseph Wallace. Defensive end Davin Bellamy. Linebackers Francis Bernard, Andre Mincy, Reggie Northrup. Defensive backs Kentrell Bryce, Michael Joseph, Anthula Kelly, Dewan Neal, Monte Nicholson, Santos Ramirez, and DJ Swearinger. And long snapper Trey Berry and kicker Matthew McCrane. San Antonio Brahmas, new head coach Wade Phillips there. They got Roughnecks running back Bryson Aline, Roughnecks linebacker Tavante Beckett, NC State kicker Christopher Dunn, Guardians tight end Cody Latimer, UTSA defensive back Corey Mayfield, Elon quarterback Matthew McKay, Roughnecks center Alex Millette, Roughnecks running back Jalen Samuels, Tulsa wide receiver Juan Carlos Santana, Michigan Panthers running back Stevie Scott, Louisiana running back Chris Smith, Roughnecks defensive back Tease Tabor, Hawaii wide receiver Calvin Turner, Roughnecks wide receiver Cade Warner, and Roughnecks defensive back Quincy Wilson. And guys that San Antonio kept: quarterback Kurt Bankert, quarterback Jack Cohn, running back Kalen Balaj, wide receivers Nick Hawley, TJ Vasher, Jordan Vesey, offensive tackles Rashad Coward and Luke Jariga, defensive ends Drew Beasley and Mike Scott, linebacker Jordan Williams, defensive backs Bubba Bolden and Kevin Tolliver. And the final XFL team, St. Louis Battlehawks. They got Vipers defensive back Anthony Chaffee, Seahawks defensive back Quinterio Cole, or Sea Dragons defensive tackle Antoine Jackson. I knew I would do that at least once. Sea Dragons, Seahawks. They're all in the sea. It's tough. Vikings defensive back Keelan Kennedy, Sea Dragons defensive back Chris Payton Jones, Sea Dragons wide receiver Jacor Pearson, Vipers linebacker Pita Tamapenu. That was the XFL Defensive Player of the Year last year. Vipers center Donovan West and Sea Dragons defensive back Michael Wright. Guys they kept: quarterbacks Nick Tiano and Manny Wilkins, running backs Max Borghi, Mateo Durant, wide receivers Jamarcus Bradley and Hakeem Butler, center Mike Panasuk, guard Steven Gonzalez, offensive tackle Jawan Bushell-Beatty, defensive tackle Kevin Atkins, defensive end Elorm Lumore, linebackers Travis Feeney, Willie Harvey, Mike Rose, Carson Wells, defensive back Ben DeLuca, and punter Sterling Hofrichter. USFL-wise, the two-time defending USFL champs, Birmingham Stallions. They got Generals offensive tackle Calvin Ashley, Breakers tight end Marcus Ball, Maulers kicker Chris Blewett, Battlehawks wide receiver Gary Jennings, Kansas State quarterback Adrian Martinez, Generals defensive end Hercules Mataafa, Generals linebacker Chris Orr, Battlehawks safety Kenny Robinson, Breakers defensive end Henri St. Amour, Stars corner Channing Stribling, Maulers linebacker Kjavitz Zeno, Vikings defensive tackle Jalen Twyman, Maulers safety Eli Walker, and the guys they kept, like they already got the Stallions are loaded, bro. I mean, they're gonna win again. They kept quarterback Jamar Smith, running back CJ Marable, Ricky Person Jr., wide receivers Victor Bolden Jr., Deion Kane, who was the USFL championship MVP, caught 3 touchdowns. Wide receivers Amari Rogers, Marlon Williams, tight end Jay Sternberger, center Cole Cabral, offensive tackle Derwin Gray, defensive tackle Marvin Wilson, defensive lineman Willie Yarberry, defensive ends Carlo Kemp, Dondre Tillman, linebackers Travin Howard, Scooby Wright III, corner Lorenzo Burns, defensive back Neville Clark, safety JoJo Tillery, and punter Colby Wadman. The upstart Roughnecks, who were the Houston Gamblers, but they're taking the XFL Roughnecks name. They got Generals offensive tackle Isaiah Battle, Generals tight ends Braden Bowman and Woody Brandom, Maulers linebacker Reuben Foster, Stars wide receiver Cyril Grayson, Maulers wide receiver Isaiah Henney, Breakers defensive tackle Reggie Howard Jr., Stars tight end Ryan Izzo, Generals defensive tackle Toby Johnson, Stars defensive end Adam Rodriguez, Generals defensive tackle Olive Sagapolu, Breakers defensive tackle Keontae Shad, Stars linebacker Gabriel Sewell Jr., Generals defensive lineman Ethan Westbrooks, and then the Gamblers players that they kept, quarterbacks Kenji Bahar and Jarrett Garantano, running backs TJ Pledger and Mark Thompson, wide receivers Emmanuel Butler, Kiki Chisholm, Justin Hall, and Anthony Ratliff Williams, Teo Redding, tight end Clint Sig Jr., offensive tackles Avery Genesee, Justin Redd, and Natai Rogers, defensive tackle Chris Odom, who is the USFL Defensive Player of the Year, defensive end Tim Bonner, defensive end Isaiah Chambers, linebackers Colin Tolson, JT Tyler, corner Isaiah Zuber, safeties Manny Bunch, Jeremiah Johnson, and punter Hunter Neiswander. My Memphis Showboats, we got a lot of good players as well. Breakers wide receivers Jonathan Adams and D. Anderson, Breakers linebacker Jordan Brailford, Stars running back Kennedy Brooks, Stars quarterback Case Cookus, Generals corner DJ Daniel, Breakers linebacker Vontae Diggs, Breakers safety Jerry Elder, Generals linebacker Colin Hill, Alabama linebacker Dylan Moses, Maulers wide receiver DeAndre Overton, Breakers wide receiver Vinny Papali, Maulers offensive tackle Terry Poole, Generals edge rusher Tyshawn Render, Generals tight end Wes Saxton Jr., Breakers tight end Sage Surratt, Generals running back Darius Victor, thick thighs save lives. And the Showboats that they kept, quarterbacks Cole Kelly and Ryan Willis, running back Kareth White, wide receivers Rashard Davis, Derek Dillon, Ryan McDaniel, tight ends John Mitchell, J.J. Wilson, offensive lineman Jaron Jones, nose tackles John Atkins Sr., Dalen Mack, defensive tackle Dylan Famatau, defensive end Jordan Ferguson, defensive end P.J. Hall, defensive end Jeremiah Valawaga, edge rusher Jeff McCulloch, linebackers Anthony Butler and Greg Reeves, corners Delrick Abrams Jr., Quentin Meeks, Nehemiah Shelton, safeties TJ Green, Kyrie Woods, punter Brandon Wright, and kicker Alex Kessman. And then finally, the Michigan Panthers, they got Breakers safety Adonis Alexander, Breakers quarterback Davis Cheek, Stars running back Matthew Colburn II, Stars wide receiver Corey Coleman, Breakers linebacker Gerard Fernandez, Maulers corner Keith Gibson Jr., Breakers running back Wes Hills, Generals safety Shalom Luani, Generals punter Brock Miller, Generals long snapper Jordan Ober, Maulers edge rusher Nasir Player, Stars offensive tackle Ryan Pope, Stars wide receiver Jordan Sewell, Breakers corner Alex Thomas, Maulers safety Bryce Tornadon, Stars wide receiver Terry Wright, Generals safety Shalom Luani, I already mentioned, and the guys they kept, quarterbacks Danny Etling and Brian Lewerke, running backs Raymond Calais, Nate McCrary, Toa Tawa, wide receivers Devin Ross, Marcus Sims, tight end Cole Hicatini, defensive tackles Garrett Marino and Walter Palmore, defensive end Breland Speaks, edge rusher Kenny Willikis, linebackers Noah Dawkins, Deshaun White, corner Levante Taylor, safeties Corian Ballard, Sean Mahoney, Kai Nakua, Corey Rahman, and Warren Saba. That was a lot.
Sure was.
But those are all the players that you should look at on their rosters before training camp and March 30th start date. Ready for NFL news after that?
Sure.
General. So the Jets, they are expected to attempt to trade Zach Wilson this offseason.
Good luck with that. I mean,
Next Vikings legend.
shut your mouth. I mean, but the thing is, like, where do you project Wilson? Like, is he a starter? Like, is he just your primary backup? Is he a project? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what team would be in the market for him. Like, I think off the top of my head, a team that makes sense would be like the Raiders. I just don't know many teams that would look at him and want to take a flyer on him. The Raiders make the most sense because, I mean, I guess you could risk it to have a backup QB to presumably Jimmy Garoppolo if you stick with him next year. Maybe Saints, kind of same situation, have a backup Derek Carr. But I really don't know where you would trade Zach Wilson to. Like, is there even a market for him? Like, I'd be surprised if he had even got a late round pick swap for the guy.
I think there will be at least maybe 4 teams in on him. You think about it, he's in the same situation as Justin Fields, 2021 draft pick. So he still can be controlled by the team. He's under contract for 2024. You have the option for his 5th-year option in 2025 as well. So technically you have him for 2 years. It would be smart for a team that trades for him to exercise that 5th-year option just so you have him, even though the 5th-year option is usually pretty lucrative compared to the first 4 years of the contract on rookie deals. But yeah, I mean, I think there is going to be some team that is willing to go a 5 on him because he has shown improvement, especially this year. You saw the improvement in a couple of the games where he was actually reading the field, making the correct throws, and making the correct decisions when he wasn't a completion, throwing the ball away and whatnot. So I think his best place is still to stay in New York to learn under Aaron.
And Aaron seems to like the kid.
Yeah. But, I mean, if the Jets want to trade him, the Jets want to trade him, and there's nothing he can do about it. Mm. Aaron can do something about it. Aaron can say, no, you're not trading him. Because
I wouldn't be surprised.
He can do whatever he wants.
I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron's like, I want Wilson under me next year. Well, pause. Backing me up next year.
The issue is like, they did win some games with Trevor Siemian.
So, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like you won the game because of Trevor.
Right. Hey, he balled out against the Browns. Just Joe Flacco balled out more.
Maybe they can bring him to the Browns, have him back up Joe Flacco. Yeah,
because Joe Flacco is going to be the starter in 2024.
Yeah, it's going to be a Zach Wilson for Deshaun Watson, 1-for-1.
Straight up. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they're going to build around Kyler Murray, which is, I think, expected.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. What I saw from Kyler Murray when he came back from injury this year, he was good. Like,
oh yeah,
he was really good. Like, I was pretty impressed. And I think too, if you're the Cardinals, you're kind of looking in a situation where you could possibly get MHJ, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Like, you can really get this guy a weapon, and that offense really doesn't have a weapon. Like, I was ragging on the Panthers earlier. I mean, Cardinals are kind of the same boat, but Kyler performed very well with having meh weapons. So I would go if I'm Cardinals, I'm sticking with Kyler. I'm probably trying to draft MHJ. who's a wide receiver from Washington?
Roma Dunze.
Roma Dunze. Or maybe if I want to get bold, maybe Brock Bowers. Maybe trade back and get Brock Bowers.
They don't. Why? Why would they need Brock? Trey McBride has had an excellent.
Oh, that's right, Trey McBride. Yeah, never mind. Stick with
excellent
second
season. Yeah, he was in his second year this year, but
that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, excellent
I forgot
year.
about Trey McBride. Yeah, he's good.
But I wouldn't even be mad if I'm the Cardinals and I don't get Marvin Harrison. I would actually prefer not to get him at 4, because I think they have the Texans pick as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can get a wide receiver with that pick. Because I think more importantly, with the lack of top end offensive tackles, I think that's where they need to go at 4. And I think Olufashanu from Penn State is where they should go at number 4, because DJ Humphries just tore his ACL at the end of the year this year. So even if he does come back next year, which I wasn't sure that he wouldn't retire after this year anyways, because he's 33. So there were rumblings that he was going to be gone anyways, even before he tore his ACL. So
yeah,
even if he comes back next year, they're probably going to need someone to start at left tackle at the beginning of the year. And then, they can solidify both sides if DJ does come back during the season next year.
Yeah. So what would be a good draft for Cardinals? I think, getting left tackle, because also that rookie right tackle they got from Ohio State last year was Paris Johnson.
Yep.
He showed really good improvement at the end of the year. So, I mean, having a tackle situation with 2 very young, good players, and then late first round, I don't know, probably get another. I don't know how far Houston will make, but let's assume probably around 18 to 21 is probably what you're picking. You can get a pretty decent wide out there. I mean,
I think the Texans are probably going to be in the early 20s at the very best, like mid 20s.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you could get someone like Emeka Egbuka. I mean, he could be available there, and that'd be a pretty solid wide receiver.
I was thinking about the LSU guys, Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors would be a good one too. So, I think, and also I think you would have to trade up if you're the Cardinals to get MHJ, and I don't think it'd be smart for them right now to trade up.
No, right now they have the most draft picks of anyone. They have 13 selections, and that's before compensatory picks come out, which I don't know if they're going to get any. Because
I could see them probably. I don't see them trading up from 4, but I could see them trading up from the Texans pick.
Yeah,
that could be a good idea. Maybe move into the mid-teens. That would be something I would probably bet, because they have, as you said, a lot of draft capital, so that could be a good trade for them.
The Steelers, they are once again moving forward with Mason Rudolph this week in the playoffs. Good move. I think you got to stick with the hot hand at quarterback, and he's doing a great job of running the offense as it is supposed to be run, leaning on the ground game, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, and then making some big-time explosive throws off of it, which they've gotten the last 3 weeks with George Pickens, and then last week with Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, you made the playoffs because Mason Rudolph really helped this offense. There's no way you don't play him.
Yeah. Coaching carousel. It's Black Tuesday since we don't have shows on Monday until the semester starts, and then we will have shows on Monday, and Jimmy will be gone for Mondays. But anyways, it's Black Tuesday now for us. So the Washington Commanders, they have fired head coach Ron Rivera. They fired him yesterday. It's a pretty shitty birthday, dude. Like, you lose on your birthday on Sunday, and then you get fired on Monday. Like,
yeah,
God, that's bad. Not a great week for Ron.
Riverboat Ron.
But the Commanders, they are interviewing or have scheduled to interview Lions offense coordinator Ben Johnson, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, Ravens associate head coach / D-line coach Anthony Weaver, and Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald right now. So defense, they're looking at another defensive coach. Ben Johnson, the only offensive coach in that mix currently for Washington. That's interesting. I thought they would go offense to pair with their presumed new quarterback at number 2. But we'll see. The Falcons, they fired head coach Arthur Smith. I have not seen any Falcons interviews yet for their head coach spot. So we'll wait on that one. The Giants, they are looking for a couple new coordinators. They fired special teams coordinator Thomas McGahee, and defensive coordinator Wink Martindale resigned. So, and right when that happened, I got a CBS thing about it, a CBS Sports News thing about it, and they're like, could two NFC East teams be in the mix for Wink Martindale? And right when he got resigned, I was like, bro, Eagles, bring him on. I would love nothing more than Wink Martindale to come to Philadelphia. But the Cowboys also would be the other one. I think I didn't read the article. I would think that the Cowboys would be the other one that they would be mentioning, because I don't think Wink is looking for a head coaching job right now. As far as I know, I think he'll get interviews. I don't know if anyone is going to hire him though. But Dallas potentially also is going to be in the defensive coordinator mix if Dan Quinn, which everyone presumes that Dan Quinn is going to get a head man spot this year. The Panthers, they are interviewing Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales, Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith, and Ravens defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. Out of those ones, I like Bobby Slowick really a lot. I like Bobby Slowick. He's in the Shanahan tree. And, I don't know. He did a great job with CJ Stroud this year. So why not move from the number 2 pick to the number 1 pick? The Chargers, they are interviewing Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, and Chargers interim head coach Giff Smith. Bro, if Giff gets that, that'd be lit.
I also saw they just tweeted this out like a minute ago. Chargers did also interview their own offensive coordinator.
One Mr. Kellen Moore.
Mr. Kellen Moore. So
the guy that I've wanted for the Panthers for the last 2 years. But yeah, I didn't look at my tweets. I have not looked at all the tweets that I have. Yeah. I just stopped doing that mid-show because it gets too tedious. So I just place everything that happens during the show. That goes on the next one.
That's next episode. Oh, so I spoiled next episode.
Yeah. The Jags, they have fired defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell. So Jags also in the defensive coordinator hunt. And the Titans today firing head coach Mike Vrabel. I kind of already alluded to that earlier with the New England thing. But yeah, that is like I said, that's the number 1 place that I've heard is that Vrabel, I think, would like to go back to New England. And if Bill leaves, why not? Why Robert Kraft knows. And I don't know if it was necessarily the right decision for Tennessee. I mean, they had back-to-back losing seasons, but before that, 4 straight winning seasons, 4 straight years in the playoffs. Were they ever a title contender? I don't know. But they had a number 1 seed at one point. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's a great coach, though.
Yeah, I think personnel match just kind of runs out. I think when they had Vrabel, and I mean, you mentioned those 4 straight playoff, appearances. They had like Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and those were his guys. Mm-hmm. But now as you see Tannehill's at the door, Henry's probably next. So you probably just a new voice for the new guys. You don't want to you want probably a coach that works better with the guys you are going to be running with and not the guys you had previously. It's kind of like square peg, round hole kind of thing here.
Yeah, it was just kind of interesting, though, to not let him try another season to see what a full season of the Will Levis thing looks like. But, yeah, we'll see. Also have not heard any interviews for the Titans yet. But like their owner, Amy Adams Strunk, she said, like, they did this now because they wanted to get out ahead and, because they were talking about possibly trading Mike Vrabel, but, they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to wait for a team to come up with an offer and then have to have negotiations, and then they miss out on some of the candidates that they could have gotten at their head coach spot if they wouldn't have fired him instead of traded him. GM carousel. The Panthers, they fired GM Scott Fitterer. So they are interviewing Bucks assistant GM Mike Greenberg, Giants assistant GM Brandon Brown, Eagles assistant GM Alec Hallaby, Saints VP of Football Administration and assistant GM Kai Harley, Raiders interim GM Champ Kelly, Cowboys VP of Player Personnel Will McClay. Out of those, obviously, I'm impartial. I would love to see Alec Hallaby come in. But also, I wouldn't mind Will McClay, taking Will McClay from Dallas as well. He's the de facto GM. Obviously, Jerry Jones holds the title, kind of. But Will McClay is the senior ranking guy in the front office that directly reports to Jerry Jones. So the Washington Commanders, for their GM spot, they are interviewing Bears assistant GM Ian Cunningham, Chiefs assistant GM Mike Borgonzi, 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters, Cowboys VP of Player Personnel Will McClay, Browns assistant GM Glenn Cook as well. I expect that to be 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters. I expect him to get that job. Him and Josh Harris went to high school together, so they already know each other. And then, unfortunately, I mentioned the Panthers. I would love to get Bobby Slowick. If Adam Peters is the head coach, I would highly expect the Commanders to hire Bobby Slowick with the 49ers connection there. Raiders, they're interviewing 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters, Colts assistant GM Ed Dodds, Bills director of player personnel Terrence Gray, and former Chargers GM Tom Telesco as well. And then the Chargers, they are interviewing Bills director of player personnel Terrence Gray and Saints VP / assistant GM and former Dolphins general manager Jeff Ireland. IR, the Jags, they placed wide receiver Jamal Agnew on IR. That was prior to the game to make room for Christian Kirk on the roster. Injuries, playoff injuries here. The Steelers, like Logan mentioned, TJ Watt, grade 2 MCL sprain, out this week. They said probably 2 weeks. So the Steelers they definitely have to win this week for Watt to even have a chance to come back in the divisional round. Not going to happen, though, unfortunately. Lions, tight end Sam Laporta. He has a hyperextended knee and a bone bruise. Dan Campbell says outside chance to play this week, so that would be a major loss against the Rams for Detroit. Speaking of major losses, Eagles rookie safety Sidney Brown, torn ACL. He is done for the year. Bills wide receiver Gabe Davis, he has a PCL sprain, not ruled out for this week yet. Probably going to be a game time decision, I would think. We'll see how he progresses, though. And then the Dolphins, I talked to Logan and the guys about this last night. Dude, I mean, the hits just keep coming for the Dolphins defense, man. Jerome Baker, now, he had wrist surgery. He is likely out for the playoffs, as is linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. He has a foot injury, also probably out for the playoffs. So, dude, it's rough.
Especially after losing Chubb as well. I mean,
and Phillips.
That defense is really running on fumes.
Well, especially just the front seven. Yeah.
Mhm.
Extensions. Ravens signed defensive tackle Michael Pierce to a 2-year, $7.5 million extension. Good for him. Big run stuffer there in Baltimore. And the signings, the Dolphins, they're signing guys off the street. I think if we applied, maybe we could get a contract with Miami to be an edge rusher.
I'm 5'9". No, they're laughing me out the building.
Hey, bro, I'm 5'6", 203. I'm in there.
What they'll do is they'll have their linebacker hold you, and then when the ball is snapped, they'll throw you over the offensive line to tackle the QB. Actually, genius move. I don't.
Bro, the 6'8" tackles won't even know where I went because I'll be by them so quick. They
have to look down.
They won't even see me go by them. I can get it done.
I'm not even kidding. When I was in 4th grade, the 1 year I played organized football, I was a defensive end. I'm not even kidding. My 1 year of organized football, I was a defensive lineman.
Never played D-line. I played outside linebacker, though, and off-ball inside linebacker. So the Dolphins, though, they signed Panthers edge rusher Justin Houston, former Seahawks and Raiders edge rusher Bruce Irvin, and former Broncos Steelers linebacker Malik Reed as well. So those are the guys. Bruce Irvin and Justin Houston signed to the active roster, I believe. Malik Reed to the practice squad, but obviously he'll be elevated. So, yeah. I don't know why they don't re-sign JPP after they released him. He knows the defense. So I don't know. Yeah. But that's it. That's the show. Way too long.
Yeah.
Went on a couple rants. I read a long list of names that no one cares about except for me. And the spring football community. But yeah, next week it'll be a Monday show on MLK Day before the playoff game. Be divisional week though, divisional round week, and we'll have all your game recaps, game previews, and of course your NCAA NFL news as well. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts and Non. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all back on Friday.